नमस्ते स्टूडेंट्स, हमेशा खुश रहो बिटिया। आई एम डॉक्टर सुमन आहूजा, असिस्टेंट प्रोफेसर कार्चिकित्सा डिपार्टमेंट, फैकल्टी ऑफ आयुर्वेदिक साइंस, ज्योति विद्यापीठ, वुमेन्स यूनिवर्सिटी. So I'm going to discuss osteoporosis disease, its investigation and management. In previous lessons, we discussed clinical features, definition, pathophysiology, and signs and symptoms. So today I'm going to discuss its investigations and management part. So let me share a presentation for you. So investigation, the most important investigation is DXA, that is dual X-ray absorptiometry, lumbar spine and hip. They should be considered in patients age over 50 and who have already suffered a fragility fracture, and those with clinical risk factor when a fracture risk assessment tool has returned an elevated value. So what are the indication of DXA? Low trauma fracture, a patient's age is more than 50 years, clinical risk factors and 10-year fracture risk is more than 10%. Glucocorticoid therapy, that is more than 75 milligram, dose daily for more than 3 months, assessment of response of osteoporosis to treatment, assessment progression of osteopenia to osteoporosis, age less than 50 years, and very strong risk factors for the osteoporosis. So these are the indications. This is the DXA result. So if the T-score is between -4 to -3 or -2.5 is osteoporosis, -2.5 to -1 is osteopenia, that is low bone mass, and -1 to +2 then is the normal bone density. A history should be taken to identify any predisposing causes such as menopause, excessive alcohol intake, smoking, glucocorticoid therapy. Signs of endocrine disease, neoplasia, inflammatory disease should be sought on clinical examination, and a false history should be taken, a get up and go test performed, especially in the older patient. Screening for secondary causes of osteoporosis should be performed. So investigation of osteoporosis, investigation other than DXK is urea creatine electrolytes for chronic kidney disease, liver function test, and albumin for chronic liver disease, full blood count, ESR for inflammatory disease and myeloma, tissue transglutaminase antibodies for the celiac disease, serum calcium and phosphate, primary hyperparathyroidism, serum 25-OHD and alkaline phosphatase, vitamin D deficiency in osteomalacia, serum parathyroid hormone, primary hyperparathyroidism, thyroid function test, hyperthyroidism, serum protein, electrophoresis, myeloma, monoclonal gammopathy of uncertain significance, urinary Benz-Jones protein myeloma, testosterone and gonadotropins, male hypogonadism, estrogen and gonadotropins, female hypogonadism, and bone myopathy in unexplained early onset osteoporosis, renal disease, multiple possible causes of low bone mass. So management, the aim of management is to reduce the risk of fracture and can be achieved by a combination of approaches. Now, non-pharmacological interventions, so advice on smoking cessation, moderation of alcohol intake, adequate dietary calcium intake, and exercise should be given. Those with recurrent falls or unsteadiness on a get up and get those test should be referred to a multidisciplinary falls prevention team, and hip protectors can reduce the risk of hip fracture in selected patients, but adherence is often poor. Now, if we discuss pharmacological interventions, there are several drugs which are available to reduce the risk of fracture in osteoporosis. Number one is bisphosphonates. These are the first line treatment for osteoporosis, and but do not completely prevent fracture occurring. So oral bisphosphonates are typically given for a period of 5 years, at which point the need of continued therapy should be evaluated with the repeat DXA if possible. If patients have remained free of fractures after 5 years, and if BMD levels have increased and no longer remain in the osteoporotic range, it is unusual to instigate a 5-year spell of therapy. Treatment may be continued for up to 10 years in patients whose BMD levels remain in osteoporotic range after 5 years. A change in treatment should be considered in patients who have lost BMD despite biphosphonates. Now, oral biphosphonates, they are poorly absorbed from the GI tract and should be taken on an empty stomach with plain water, though no food should be taken for 30 to 45 minutes after administration. They are contraindicated with esophageal stricture or achalasia, since established mistake in the esophagus, causing ulceration and perforation. Upper GI upsets occurs in about 5% of cases. Adverse effect of biphosphonates. Now, common side effects are upper GI intolerance in oral, and acute phase response in IV. Less common, atrial fibrillation, IV zoledronic acid, and hypocalcemia with IV biphosphonate, atypical subtrochanteric fractures. And the rare side effects are uveitis, osteonecrosis of the jaw, and esophageal ulceration. Now, what are the common bisphosphonate? Alendronic acid, 75 milligram per week should be given orally. Risodronate, 35 milligram per week orally. Ibendronate, 150 milligram per month orally, 3 gram, and 3 monthly IV. Zoledronic acid, 5 milligram annually IV, and denosumab is a monoclonal antibody that inhibits bone resorption, administered by a subcutaneous injection of 60 milligram every 6 months. And one potential adverse effect is hypokalemia, but this can be mitigated by calcium and vitamin D supplements. Now, calcium and vitamin D supplements have a limited efficacy in prevention of osteoporotic fracture when given alone, but they are widely used as adjunct to the other treatment. A typical dose is 1000 milligram calcium, 800 IU vitamin D. Calcium and vitamin D supplements have efficacy in preventing fragility fractures in elderly or institutionalized patients who are at high risk of deficiency. Next medication is teriparatide, is 134 fragment of human PTH, parathyroid hormone, and is effective treatment for osteoporosis, which works by stimulating new bone formation. Although TPTD, that is teriparatide, also stimulate bone resorption, the increase in bone formation is greater, resulting in increased bone density, particularly as site reach in trabecular bones such as the spine. It is given by a self-administered subcutaneous injection in a dose of 20 microgram daily for 2 years. Now next, as in menopause, osteoporosis is a very common phenomenon. So hormone replacement therapy is indicated. So cyclic HRT with estrogen and progesterone prevents postmenopausal bone loss and reduces the risk of vertebral and non-vertebral fractures in postmenopausal women. It is primarily indicated for the prevention of osteoporosis in women with an early menopause. So surgery is also an option if there is some need of internal fixation, then the surgery is needed and is frequently required to reduce and stabilize osteoporotic fractures. So patients with intrascapular fracture of the femoral neck generally need hemiarthroplasty or total hip replacement in view of the high risk of avascular necrosis. Vertebroplasty is sometimes used in the treatment of painful vertebral compression fractures. It involves injecting methyl methacrylate into affected vertebral body under sedation and local anesthesia. So this was all about investigation and the management part of the osteoporosis. I hope you are satisfied with the session, and this session was powered by Digital Version 2.0 Jyoti Vidyapeeth Women's University. If there is any question, query, please write in the comment box and that will be resolved. So thank you so much for watching this video.